Hello everybody, and thank you for watching this quick tutorial for We Shall Walk Through the Valley in Peace, a men's choir TTBB a cappella piece arranged by William Appling. This is a gorgeous piece and really accessible for any men's choir as long as you have 4 parts. I've sang it with quartet, octets, and bigger groups. It's really beautiful, it's very lyrical, flowing. It's a crowd favorite, and I just want to give a little bit of hopefully some best practices. So whether you're a director or someone who sings in a choir and you just want to learn a little bit of the music, I hope you take something away from this and learn and maybe bring something back to your own choir. If you haven't watched my video about the acronym PASTA, that's kind of how I approach new pieces. I'll put a link in the description below, and I won't go too in depth about what PASTA means, but it is an acronym. So that's kind of the rules I follow and the steps I proceed whenever we look at a new piece of music. So we'll forego the P of pasta, which stands for posture. Obviously, we always want good posture, but specific music-wise, I like to go to the A, which is air, second A of pasta. This is a good piece for the opportunity to sing in 4 measure phrases. My rule of thumb is we typically breathe after there's some sort of punctuation, like a comma, a period, or an exclamation mark in the music. And you'll see from the beginning here right away, we start out in 4 measure phrases. So if I sing the bass part, that first line, take a nice breath of air. We shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Breathe. We shall walk through the valley in peace. You can see it fits very nicely into these 4 measure phrases. And I'd like to show you what I'm talking about here. So we have, let me get this, there we go. We have here, after death, that nice little comma here. We can see the exclamation point on peace, which actually goes here. We take our breath. If we keep going, we have a nice comma here after leader, which is split. We shall walk through the valley in peace. And at the end, you can see the second page of music if we go to, it's going to be the same thing. We have our comma after there, scroll down a little bit, another there. So you can see there's a pattern definitely here, which is a good exercise to make sure we're taking enough breath so we meet these 4 measure phrases. So that's the first thing I'd talk about or think about as a singer. As a singer, if we want to make sure we're meeting our phrases, we're taking enough air. Now with taking enough air, we also want to make sure we expend that air. So I can't just take a huge breath and then try to take another breath at 5. I need to use the oxygen that I actually took in. So big breath at the beginning. We shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Hopefully I've used most of my air so I can take another big breath and get that second phrase and make that 4 bars. So that's the first thing I think about. The second, S and the T of pasta, I'm kind of going to put together here. The S stands for shape or vowel shape, and T stands for tone. In my choir, I like to use the analogy of an instrument. I like to use cello a lot because I think of a cello player, that bow, and long lyrical phrases, and it's very legato and smooth and flowing. So I think about that at the beginning if I'm singing the tenor part for We Shall Walk. We shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Right, you can see that whole, you can hear, I should say, that whole phrase. This is one long sentence, just like how it's written, a musical phrase like that. So I'd combine the S and the T of pasta, shape, and tone. We definitely, whatever you want to call it, round, warm, as long as we had that nice tone. We shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. if we can capture that as a choir, it's going to bring more of the magic of this piece out, and we're not just singing the notes, we're actually making music with it. The last A of the pasta would be articulation. There's a lot of K's in here, so we want people to understand what we're talking about or what we're singing about. We sing "We Shall Walk" again and again in this piece. We shall walk through the valley. So you can see that I combined this K on walk to the beginning of the word through. So it kind of sounds like walk through. You combine those. And if you think about taking those consonants, no matter where you're singing in this piece, and making them go to the next word, that's really going to help your articulation and your audience understand what you're singing about. I'll give you an example on if we can find one that's not just a K. If we look at the end of this line, there will be no sorrowing there. All those consonants, they are the connectors and the transition between our vowels. The vowels are what makes the music. The consonants are what helps other people understand what we're actually saying. So if I'm taking a view of pasta, I hope you gain some insight from that. One specific part of the music I want to talk about is chromatic. And I'll kind of explain what that means. If I'm starting at measure 8, and I'll use a different color here. If I'm starting at measure 8, you'll see, and I'm talking specifically about bass part. And if Jesus himself shall be our leader. That's chromatic. And for those of you who don't read music, don't let that scare you. Think about a piano, the black and the white keys. If I'm starting on the word Jesus, it's the smallest increment of sound that I can go down. And if Jesus himself shall be our leader. That can create a little bit of trouble for people who don't read music. I would suggest, if you're a bass, taking a pencil and marking exactly where you would go down in pitch. I'll also include links to each tenor, the baritone, and the bass tutorial that I did, where it's just me singing the piano, so you can kind of hear what that sounds like. Even if you don't read music, and I won't go into depth about half steps and what it looks like or anything, but you can see the blue that I underlined. That's when you change, that's each one changes pitch. And if Jesus, we change pitch there, himself shall be our leader. So underline all of those, and I'll use some different colors. So if we think, and if Jesus, him, those two are the same pitch. That next measure, I'll use a different color. Self shall be our, that's all one pitch, G flat. I'll use another color. Our leader. So lead is a different pitch as well. It goes down a half step. And that blue, the last part of leader, is another pitch. So again, and if Jesus himself shall be our leader, we shall walk. And that of leader also shares the pitch. So that's just one thing I think that might create some, maybe a little bit of difficulty for your choir, or if you're learning, if you haven't sang chromatic before, that goes down in small increments of pitches. The next page, there really isn't anything that new. We sing a little bit of new. There will be no sorrowing there. But as far as the pitches go, there's nothing that's too tricky. You can see in our third line here, we do the same chromatic movement here that we were talking about on that first page for the bass line. So really, you're repeating quite a bit in this piece. So once you learn the first page, you really got the second one down already before you even know it. That's also something really neat about this piece. Other than that, and the little bit of stuff we talked about for the chromatic for the basses, this is a really fun piece. There's a lot of liberty for director. You can already hear that when I'm just singing it, I'm taking some give and take. You can see the choir direction. Quietly, I like the freely with motion the best. We shall walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Maybe I exaggerated a little bit there, but there's so much leeway and musical give and take that you can do as a director for this, which I think is really neat. The dynamic markings that we have are good guidelines. I know it starts out mezzo forte, that MF, and piano, that P for the third verse. It's really whatever dynamic you feel. All in all, this is such a fun piece to sing, and it's gorgeous. It's a crowd pleaser, like I said, and it's really fun to learn. I'm guessing our choir that I direct will take a week or so, maybe 2, and this will be down pat, and it'll be one that we can take wherever we go. If we sing in churches or wherever we're out singing, hopefully it's a success. So I want to thank you again for watching this quick tutorial on We Shall Walk Through the Valley in Peace. And go ahead and leave me a comment if you enjoy the video or don't. That's fine. I always appreciate the feedback. And again, hopefully you take something, whether you're a director, a singer, to learn and take back to your own choir. And again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it.